Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan, and then he added Jai Anusandhan. The path to success, to make it a developed nation, is via science and technology and innovation.
Is it now the declared aim of you and the government of India that India has to become a leader in science, has to become a leader in research?
My biggest complaint is that we have 20% of the designers, but are we having that proportionate patents?
Can you guarantee me that I won't spend my entire time worrying about red tape when it comes to my science?
The conditions are becoming better. The policies which are being put in place, they are really making a difference. I think quantum technologies will affect the national sovereignty, because once the quantum computers become available, all our secure communication is at risk. And in next 3 years, we will have artificial general intelligence, AGI. I can see the way there is exponential growth and the desire to change algorithms. See, if the curiosity dies, humanity dies.
Hey everyone, welcome to the India Story podcast. Now, the most important part perhaps of the India story over the next decade or so could be related to science, related to technology, related to how India positions itself as a growing leader in various forms of research and development. And let's face it, that isn't something which has necessarily always been an area of strength, certainly when compared to other leading countries like India and China. But efforts are being made to try and change all of that permanently. And with me on this episode of the India Story podcast, the man who I dare say is spearheading and coordinating India's efforts to become a scientific and a research superpower. The principal scientific advisor to the government of India, Professor Ajay Sood. It's such a pleasure to have you with us. So there's so much to talk to you about, from what you're doing with science itself, the mega science vision, the national missions, what you're doing to keep talent in India. But let me just start by asking you, as a basic thrust, is it now the declared aim of you and the government of India that India has to become a leader in science, has to become a leader in research?
Absolutely. There is no two ways to say that. You must have seen our honorable prime ministers. Every Independent Day speech from the Red Fort has enormous amount of focus on science and technology and innovation. And that's when he added Jai Jawan, Jai Vigyan, Jai Kisan, and then he added Jai Anusandhan. It reflects actually a absolute convince that the path to success, to make it a developed nation, is via technology, science and technology and innovation. Now that does not happen in a day or two. So it has a path. We need to see how really we create the entire ecosystem where our scientists, engineers, innovators, startups, they all feel empowered and they feel that this is their time and space to contribute. So India is in that position now where the spirit is very high, intent is very clear, and the support from the government is very, very intense, which is what you will see now happening in terms of various policy decisions we have taken, in terms of resources we have put. So it needs many things, you need resources, you need intent, you need policies, you need ease of doing science, again a word coined by our honorable prime minister. All that has to be actualized, and that's what is happening.
Well, I am going to, over the next hour or so, take you through every aspect of that, right?
Absolutely,
Because
absolutely.
you do need a roadmap, you need a vision. But before you start finding the solutions and answers, you have to also see what the issue is. And would you agree that to some extent we could have done more? I mean, in the sense that the amount that we spend on research and development at 0.6% of GDP, it's less than what it should be, what it is in America and China. The number of patents that countries like that put out is a lot more. Are we some distance behind where we should be? So
So
we
I
have to catch
think
up.
I would just like to put a clarifying thing here. Our GDP has grown quite fast.
Yeah.
So what happens? The ratio, which is what you call GERD, gross expenditure on R&D, divided by GDP, is like 0.7%. But the actual amount which has gone into GERD, in actual number, has actually doubled in the last few years. So now I don't remember exactly, but it's like 1.4 lakh crores or even more for this year. These numbers, when you divide by a growing GDP, it makes it look as if we have not increased. But in absolute terms, it has been increasing. Also, I hasten to add that what we are seeing is that the most of the funding is coming from central government. Out of this, what I mentioned, almost 60%, 55 to 60% is from central government. Now, as compared to other economies which you mentioned, US and there the private funding
70%,
is
73%.
70% in South Korea. In some countries, it's even more. Minimum is about 60 to 90%. It's in that range. Now, that is what we need to enable. So, that would be called synergy. Government is putting, we enable the R&D ecosystem, and we tell the private industries, people who are in business, that R&D you don't consider as an expenditure. So E should be replaced by investment.
Yeah.
That mindset change will make the difference, and it is happening.
So I'm going to start by diving into one of the first areas, which I think has got a lot of people's interest and attention, and that's something you're pioneering as we speak. So I want to get details of that
Sure.
particular scheme from you,
Yeah.
which is the entire question of human capital and India's talent. I mean, if you India may not have a fair amount of money we have now, may not have as much money as every other country, which is fine, but we certainly have a very large pool of talent.
Absolutely.
But the problem is that all of them go and they do their PhDs abroad and they go to America and they do a PhD. 87% of them will stay on there. Not that many of them are staying here and doing science and doing the research here. So the first question which I think needs to be addressed is how do we make sure that research and development, people want to do it here, and you are now making efforts to try and persuade them to stay on or to come back?
Yeah. See, this has a whole ecosystem. What we have to see. See, why do people would like to go out abroad? They think they whatever talent they have, they can really put it to they can actualize what their dreams are, which means the facilities are there, freedom to do what they are doing and so on, what they want to do. Now, this was the story earlier. Now actually things are changing in India. Now we have many people who are abroad would like to come back. It's happening now. Why? Because we are creating the environment, may not be at the pace which we would like to do, but that's what our goal is. Make sure that people who really want to contribute have an opportunity. So that is what our goal is, that not only to have people here but also to retain them. It's not only one, you have to also retain them, and that retention should be by with full enthusiasm, not by just sulking.
Yeah, and not because America's not giving them a visa, so
Yeah.
they have to be stuck out
So
here.
that's
That's
not
not. You
that's
have to
not
make sure that the environment here is as good as it would
Yeah.
be anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, that
Which
is
is
our
what China
target.
is trying to do
Yes,
also.
so that is our target. A lot of schemes have been rolled out, like Anusandhan National Research Foundation, which is another program which was launched by government last year, has enabled many missions, many which we call advanced research grants for the scholars, and also money for initial funding of the faculty who just joined. This is called Prime Minister's Early Career Grant, which means when you join a faculty or a national lab, you need resources. You
Yeah.
just cannot say an empty room. So this scheme has enabled that if your proposal is good, you can get up to almost 60 lakhs for 2 years, which is not a small amount.
As somebody fresh starting off.
Fresh starting.
60 lakhs in international terms would not be that high, or the salary would not be that high, but you have to keep PPP in mind, right? Because you
This
have to
is no
multiply it by.
salary component, only the research component, and there is no thing for the PhD students, which is separate.
Okay.
It's only the research grant, unlike in other countries where other expenses are there. Now, it does not mean that you will have only this money. This is a starting one so that you can get started.
And then
That's the
other.
idea.
So when I was doing some research for this, I was just asking people what are the crucial questions that prevent people
Yeah.
from staying on here? Why do they want to go? Three things came to mind, and I think you are perhaps trying to look for answers for all three. Hopefully,
Yeah.
number one is their own personal money. They should have a
Yeah.
certain
Yeah.
basic salary and a certain quality of life. So that
Yeah.
is their selfish,
Yeah.
not selfish. This is their personal,
Personal. Yeah,
personal.
yeah. It's very correct.
Number two, they need funding for science.
Yeah.
And many of them say that, we don't want to be going and doing red tape and asking bureaucracy that I need a new test tube, I need this equipment. I should be guaranteed that if I'm doing 4 years or 5 years of science, it should be funded upfront, no red tape. I can focus on science and not focus on bureaucracy. And number three, there should be an ecosystem of like-minded people whom I can engage with. Would you agree that those are the three
I
things?
cannot agree more. It's absolutely on the dot. For the second part, which you said ease of doing science, about few months back, we came up with the reforms which will make the procurement hassle free. It will have how you want to hire people. So all those reforms came less than 8 months back, and government is very proactive in accepting whatever is needed to make ease of doing science. So this is a ongoing process, and we are also, as I said, we are also trying to bring the resources. My hope is that with the government funding, can it be a catalyst for other funding to come?
But the ANRF by itself, it's like $6 billion, and the
Yeah.
RDI is a separate thing, which is another
Yes.
$12 billion.
Yeah.
So there's a
Yes.
fair amount of money now,
Yeah.
right, which there is.
Yeah.
And you're saying this is only the government money, private sector can do it.
ANRF, the 6 billion is not entirely government money.
Okay.
It is only 25% is government, 20 to 25. Remaining, they have told us this should attract the other funding. So let me just say in a simple word, ANRF is R&D, which is academia driven. Academia means national labs, anyone, and they will bring industry partners along with it for the remaining funding. On the other hand, RDI fund, which is 1 lakh crore, which is roughly like 12 billion US dollar, is industry centric. So that is meant for deep tech R&D led by industry. But obviously they will bring our R&D players with them, because when they want to do any R&D, they will have to see who are the people. So academic people will again come in. When I say academic, I mean all our academic institutes, national labs, you name it. So these are two complementary programs. So that I am saying is a very unique thing.
So the principle of this I'm still trying to understand, because let's say again it comes back to holding talent. Now
Yeah.
what the Chinese, for example, do is that they try and match the salaries, they increase the salaries a lot to give a certain quality. But what they apparently seem to be doing is they're telling Chinese students abroad, or China, or people in China, don't go abroad. You want to set up a lab in clean tech or in biotech or in AI or wherever it is, set it up here. If you need 3 years or 4 years worth of funding, we will guarantee it to you upfront, whether it's government, whether it's thing. So they get the money upfront, and then they're incentivized to just stay on and do the science, because they don't have to worry about
Yeah.
red tape or bureaucracy or running around after
Yeah.
grants.
So point here is, since all our funding things are competitive, so that's very important for transparency, because the system has to be robust so that the best ideas, best people get this. That is our goal. Now, there is very important thing which I should mention here. It's not only the tier 1 institutes we are focusing on. Tier 1 means ISC, IITs, and so on. Point is, we have enormous talent in tier 2 and tier 3 institutes. all your NIITs, engineering colleges, they are really full of talented people. But R&D is very small. That is what we are enabling in ANRF. So we have made a program which will be quite interesting called PAIR, partnership between tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3. So they have submitted joint projects. 70% of the funding is going to tier 2 and tier 3. Hand holding is done by tier 1. So this is a new experiment. Then we have created Prime Minister's professorships in tier 2 and tier 3. Those who want to contribute, go there, set up the labs, bring the people along. See, how do people get excited when they see a person whom they respect and who is really doing the cutting edge science and engineering? So, Prime Minister's professorship is another mechanism. So, we have to find out something which is unique to India because we have a demographic advantage. That you agree. Now, demographic advantage does not mean that everyone is equal, which means we need to do hand holding of some people whom we can bring up to the top level.
So I think that's very interesting what you're saying, because sometimes when people are talking about these initiatives, it's about let's get the very brightest and the best and
Yeah.
get them back. Maybe that is something that will happen after 5 years or 10 years. But for now, you're saying that there is a real opportunity, that there are hundreds and thousands of potentially
Yes.
talented people
Yeah.
whom you can hold on to. They don't go in the first place. Make sure
Yeah.
they're getting their PhDs here, they're getting their grants here,
Yeah.
they're starting the research. Go after that first and build a certain base.
Small correction, we are doing both at the
You're
same
doing
time.
both.
The point we are saying is you cannot do one at the cost of other. No. We need top institutes because we want to go higher in the innovation ladder. That itself will be a inspiration for many other institutes and many faculty. There is nothing better than a role model, I can tell you.
It's the halo effect.
Halo effect.
Because there is Stanford, everyone else is saying,
Yeah.
Arey, let's go to Silicon
Yeah.
Valley. There's
Yeah.
Princeton and MIT and
Yeah.
Harvard. So you're saying, let's go to America.
Yeah.
There's Oxford, Cambridge. So
Yeah.
you're wanting to go there. China is now starting to have the, Tsinghua and other universities. So
Yeah.
people are saying, go there.
Right.
So you've got to create those champions first.
Exactly. We want role models who are dynamic. When you say role model, it means the story is over and they have become almost to go on the wall. Not that way. These are the people who inspire, who really are performing. Like in industry, we have many now champions,
Yeah.
champions have come up in the last few years. We want that as well as in R&D. Both have to be done. And it will not happen by doing one or the other. We have to do both.
So the champions which you're talking about could be individuals, but first there should be universities and there should be
Yeah.
institutions.
Yeah.
Do you think in some way the institutions are now falling back a little bit? I mean, the IITs are there, of course. Maybe have they still got that same halo?
Yes.
IISc, of course,
Yeah.
which you're so closely associated
Yeah.
with, everyone knows. But don't we need a lot more of those institutions, and we need them to come up into top 10 in the world, top 50 in the world, top 100 in the world?
Absolutely. I can't agree more.
So how do we do that?
So that is the way we have to do both, other tier 2, tier 3 to bring up as well as tier 1. So that is again a program in ANRF we have launched. Centers of excellence we will call for people who are already, let's say, in the top bracket, but how do you give them a push in various ways to keep them to what you are calling top 10? So this is not going to happen in a day, but you are very right. Both we are doing.
The rankings are very affected by things like the research papers that
Yeah.
you're doing, the patents that you're filing, things like that, which is not necessarily something that we have treated as a major strength. Perhaps we
Yeah.
should have. Are you now encouraging? This is where those
Innovation.
labs and other things will happen, where
Yeah.
you're funding a certain amount of basic research and basic patents and other things so
Both.
that you move
So
up.
we are doing both. It will not be one or the other. The very disruptive science, if anyone wants to do, answer is yes. Our point is it is not like basic or applied. I don't like this word. It has to be excellent science. If you're doing basic science, it has to be in excellent science. If you're doing applied science, it cannot be a trivial translation of some idea which is there for last 40 years and you make applied. No. Whatever you do has to have an element of some excellence and word quality. See, that's the only way country can go up. It is not by perturbative science.
Would you say that for the institutions, do you see the existing institutions, the IITs, the IISCs, and the others, upgrading to become more
Yes.
world standard?
Yes.
Or do you think new institutions and new centers of excellence need
See,
to be
the
set
point
up?
is when you say new institution, you have to be sure that you are not having something so that you postpone your misery, because any new institution will take few more years and then you discover, oh, it has the same issues as the old one. That's not always good. You have to see what do you need to do to make the existing institutes world class. If there is a need for a totally new institute with a new way of running, answer is yes. But will it be with full government funding? Answer is no. So it can be a partnership which can be experimentally tried, because what we need a system which is very progressive and people are really delivering on what they dream to do, what their innovations they want to do. So new institute, I am not against it, but I would like to make sure that you are not postponing your misery.
Yeah, you can't sit back and say, yeah, we'll start the
5 साल
construction,
करेंगे,
10 saal baad,
हाँ
kuch
वो
hoga.
नहीं होगा.
So, when you're talking about partnerships, I mean, the logical thing to think about, and maybe it ties up with the new education policy which is being spoken about now, is persuade foreign universities to come in
Yeah,
there. You
yeah,
automatically get access to their
yeah,
talent, you get access to
yeah.
their brand name, their expertise. Are you
Absolutely.
open to that?
Yeah, foreign universities are already in. Already there are many of them who have set up campuses. Few months back, UK, many universities came and set up. US has set up things. It's happening. Australia also. So what we want is these universities should not be only the teaching hubs. They have to invest in research. That's my expectation, which I have not seen enough.
Potentially, one of the things could be you can get high quality researchers here at a relatively lower cost, and you can have a 24-hour research cycle because you
Correct.
can have joint teams in America and here.
Absolutely. See, the point is they have to realize that there is an enormous potential for research here. They can come for education, I have nothing against it. But that cannot be the sole aim. Like when you have this global centers, GCC, they do only R&D, but their R&D is mostly for their parent company abroad. Are we getting enough for India? Question to be debated.
I mean,
Correct?
you could argue that it's giving you a lot of skills. And it's an interesting point you make because the
Yeah.
work that is being done at the GCCs
Yeah.
is the level of research that you hear from inside them, the level of, if you call it science, it's not, it's entirely applied. But NVIDIA's chips are being designed in India. People don't know
Yeah.
that. We are the
Yeah.
third largest semiconductor
Exactly.
design
Yeah.
population on the planet.
Correct.
Not for Indian companies, for foreign companies, but
Yeah.
at least that work is happening, which means that that talent is there, which
Yeah.
means it should be at some point transformed into
Yeah,
science
and
also,
I
basic
want that
science.
to happen. That's why I have nothing against GCC. Please understand. I would like that brain power to result in the patents in India on the designs which are conceived in India and which are produced in India. So you have to have a full cycle. Your innovative design, first innovative specifications, then you design, and then you go into manufacturing. It will not happen in a day. But I would like to see our Indian companies, few are already happening by the way, which are like fabless companies and in other sectors, but it has to happen at a scale. My biggest complaint is that we have 20% of the designers in India, but are we having that proportionate patents?
It's an interesting point because if you go to Silicon Valley and you
Yeah,
talk to any cutting edge company there,
yeah.
they'll tell you 30 to 40% of their workforce is physically in India,
In
in
India,
Hyderabad or Bangalore or
yeah,
somewhere else, right?
Pune. Pune, next to Delhi
Google,
also.
Microsoft, Qualcomm,
Absolutely.
Nvidia, you name it. They
Yeah.
all have Microsoft. They all have 30 to 40% of
Yeah.
the workforce sitting in India,
Yeah.
which means the people are here.
Yeah.
It also means that you can get very high quality people willing to be in India and work. But
Yeah.
they're not saying that shift me to
Yeah.
California. They say we'll work out of here very
Yeah.
happily.
I want that ecosystem to be, if I can be selfish, let me say it very clearly, I want it to be India centric.
So let's see how that can, what is it that is required for that? And I'm going to come back to the 3 points that I began by saying what would be required. So, number one is if you want to attract the top faculty, the top talent, or persuade the top talent not to go abroad, you got to first make sure that their quality of life is basic. You know, you
Yeah.
can breathe air. You know how it is in Delhi. If somebody says come and work in IIT Delhi, you know the person will say, but I look at the air that I'm breathing.
Sure.
So the quality of life is one aspect of it,
Yeah.
and the salary is also a part of it. Now, if you're paying people $30,000-$40,000 here for a professor, and they're getting $100,000 in America or whatever, they will think about it, right?
Small thing, we should not compare the absolute numbers because the cost of living is
Yes.
very different. So, if you want to
Multiplied
see
by 3.
something appropriately, other than emoluments, which I said, what is also required is what I call zunoon, the passion. Because that passion to build India, to see that India in next 10 years goes to the next level, is something which our young people should dream of. And good news is a lot of them are dreaming of. So it's not like very cut and dry salary comparison anymore.
Yeah.
Here it's not bad. It could be better. I'm not saying that. But we should not compare one is to one because you have to also see what are the other, what should I call, intangible benefits.
To be honest, somebody who's doing science is not in it just for the money. Otherwise, they'd
Exactly.
have moved into from academics into industry a long
Exactly.
time back.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
then they're doing it because they love the
They
science.
love the science.
So to come to what you said, junoon or passion, which is the best way to
Yeah,
describe that
absolutely.
passion for what you're doing, that is where the funding comes in. And I've spoken to
Yes.
some of the people who have founded many of the private
Yes.
universities, and they say that the real question that people ask us, especially in STEM and other areas, is
Yeah.
can you guarantee me that I won't spend my entire time worrying about red tape when it comes to my science? So that is what I think you're
Yeah.
hopefully trying to solve
So
for.
that is what we are doing it. In ANRF, we have put the processes in place, and other funding agencies also, they are in the process of making sure that it is not that people consume all their energy in just running a project, but they should really be doing the project, not running the project. There is a difference
Yeah.
whether you run a project or whether you do a project. So that's the goal. If you take US also or Europe, it's very, very competitive. I mean, the success rate is not more than 10%. So
And not
it's
everyone gets funded.
no funding.
Not everyone is on a tenure track to in the
So I'm
professorship. So
saying we have
that's
to be ready. See, the point I'm trying to say is the conditions are becoming better, much better here, and the policies which are being put in place in the last few years, they are really making a difference. And somehow I feel we are on a very high positive slope with all the framework we have brought in, all the policies, and enormous positive support from the Prime Minister.
so that another part of those policies which I want to now draw your attention to, which I think potentially can play a very major impact, is the science and technology clusters that you're setting up, which are then also feeding into the national missions at some level. But the cluster idea is actually a great idea because you can say if you want to work on climate science, come here.
Yeah.
I mean, do it at the IIT Delhi. What better place to do research on climate and air pollution
Yeah.
than to do it in Delhi? You want to do it in medical devices, for example. I think it's in Vishakhapatnam. You've
Yeah.
got a center that
Yeah.
is coming up there. So, is that the thought of the clusters?
So this S&T cluster which you mentioned is run by our Office of Principal Scientific Advisor, started few years back. Idea was exactly what you said. So many institutes in a given city, they don't talk to each other. They work in silos. So the idea was you bring them together. We are the glue, we give the funding, and then they go out and get more funding. But this glue looks at the local problems. What is happening in municipal, what they are worried, let's say dengue. Can we contribute to that? How dengue is being spread, surveillance, how are we doing with the e-mobility, various problem. And for example, AMTZ, medical devices, e-waste management. It's a huge issue now. I mean, the way we are increasing our digital footprint, the e-waste will increase many fold. So we have funded, this cluster is focusing on that, which means whatever they develop can be deployed in the country. So this cluster idea is to really look at the local problems. Local means in that neighborhood, but which are applicable to other cities also. And that way we have now 8 clusters, and these are the ones where more than 10 institutes are participating, not one or two.
Each of these clusters seems to have one institute or more, which are the anchor
Anchor,
institute,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
holding them all
Correct,
together
correct,
in
correct.
some form or the other.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The logic of what you're saying, if you take it to its logic, to its full extent, is very similar to, if you take Silicon Valley, for
Yeah.
example. Silicon Valley exists, but the fact that you've got a Stanford out
Stanford,
there
yeah.
means that it's an institute.
Yeah.
A lot of research is happening there.
Yeah.
People come there, and from there it feeds
Yeah,
the entire
yeah,
ecosystem.
exactly.
Same happens in biotech, for
Bio-
example, with Harvard and
Yeah.
a MIT.
Yeah.
Same happens in other
Yeah,
areas.
yeah.
Is that something which you think can be the
So,
future?
so what we are doing in two ways. In this cluster, we are mostly looking at the problems in that region. But in the missions which have been launched, for example, quantum mission, it is somewhat like that. What we have created are 4 hubs: quantum communication, quantum computing, quantum sensing, quantum devices. Now, each hub has about 5 institutes, but one of them will anchor the hub. But other than that, we have spokes. So, in 4 of these hubs, we have 56 institutes together, 56 or even more. What it means is that complementarity of your talent is what we are pulling in. So, this is not the era of individual people doing it. It is still there. Individual scientists are very important. I am not saying that. But when you are talking of technology, quantum is a beautiful example. From very basic science, basic R&D, research, you translate to technology. Now the time period has reduced a lot.
So the complementarity of talent and
Is the
access
mind
to each other becomes a very
very
important thing.
important.
Are you also thinking that these centers can be set up in places which are good to live in, so it's easy to attract
Yeah.
people? Which, I mean, places like Vishakhapatnam, for example, where you also now got the Google, that
Yeah.
giant data center
Yeah.
coming. So data also is
So
plentifully.
that AMTZ is a cluster with their many institute nearby, and quantum hubs. If you see, one is in IISc hub, then we have one in IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, and IIT Madras. All 4 are extremely good institutes, but it's not one institute. Again, I emphasize. We are setting up over and above that 2 fabs to make quantum devices with a huge funding, almost 600 crores rupees. Again, that is central. So it's not for 1 or 2 researchers. Anyone will be able to go and use, including startups and industries. Because if I do research and I have some idea, will I be able to translate alone?
The other aspect of that, I think, ties in with another initiative that you've launched, iSTEM, which is
iSTEM,
another
yes.
very interesting thing that you don't necessarily need to have to buy all the infrastructure
Yes.
and the
Yes.
requirements yourself. You can share it.
Yeah.
It's a sort of a shared infrastructure.
Absolutely. Actually, it was inaugurated by Honorable PM in 2020. So this platform has the instruments which have been funded by government, funding by many agencies above a certain value, because we don't want very small instrument. They have been put there. People can book it directly, and there is a very minor, very small payment. Idea is you make these things available to larger one. Another path breaking thing which I hasten to add before I forget is one nation, one subscription.
I was about to come to that. That's another
That
very,
is
very good
path
idea.
breaking. Now in phase 1, all government universities, all ALL, private and colleges have access to a large number of scientific publications without paying a pie. That payment is done by central government. So we have negotiated with the publishers to make this available. In the next phase, we can include other institutes and so on. But now, all national labs, all state labs, state institutes, state colleges can have access to all journals in all fields.
So all cutting edge research they have access to. Now the equipment that you're saying, so that I think is a great thing, and eventually I guess you'll try and broaden that as much as possible. And
Yes.
so the access to knowledge is now
Now
there to
there.
people
Yes.
without paying anything. So
Yeah.
that's great.
Idea is to enable our people. See, it's when I say enable, it's not only the researchers in academic institutes or national labs, also startups, because they don't have resources to invest in a sequencer. They cannot do that. Can we make them available?
And is it your effort to, and I'm trying to choose my words carefully, to do this in a manner which is as easy and simple
Yeah.
and free of red tape as possible? Because that's always
Yes.
been, as you know, historically the biggest
Yeah,
problem
yeah,
in our country.
I absolutely understand what you are saying. Answer is yes. For example, in compute, I can tell you because I chair that committee, and it's very competitive. People submit their proposal. There is a very expert committee, and then they come to our committee, and when it is a lot allocated, they get the time.
I thought you chaired most of these committees actually, not just AI,
No, no,
including
no,
the
no, no,
Prime
no.
Minister's advisory and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
main
No, no, no,
advisory
no.
council.
Yeah, yeah. No, no. It
So
is just that I am enabling it. It's nothing.
because I know, I mean, I think there's a quote I once remember reading from you saying that, what is it? Science is curiosity, governance is compromise. I think that was the quote that you.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you're. I said, when I say compromise, it means the following. You may not be able to put everything into action on day one because there are, I mean, we are in a society, we are not in isolated planet. Whatever I wish I can, and we don't have infinite money. What I meant was that you have to see what you can implement without getting bogged down by all the bottlenecks. So when I say compromise, it is that. Like ONOS, what we said was let's launch ONOS as early as possible, and we may not have taken all players on board. We may not have taken private in the universities on board, but that we can do later. Similarly,
Do what is feasible on step one, but keep the process going.
keep the process. My whole point is, and that's what our Honorable Prime Minister conveys very clearly, what is action oriented policy? Don't bring a policy for the sake of policy. What is the action plan? Whether it is green hydrogen mission, any mission you look at.
So that probably leads me to the next part of it, that if you do have to, I mean, compromise means you sometimes have to pick your priorities.
That's the right word. Pick your priorities.
Pick the correct priorities. So
Yeah.
even when it comes to research and development and which areas of science India is going to be chasing, I mean, some things are clear cut, of course. We're doing a lot in defense, we're doing a lot in space, we're
Yeah.
doing a lot in other such areas.
Yeah.
AI is mentioned, quantum is mentioned.
Yeah.
Which are the areas that you think India should be really focusing on and saying, here, this is where we can become a world leader really fast? And maybe we don't prioritize that area B or C.
See, that is bit. I mean, it's a very, very important question, and anything I say will be controversial because
You're saying, why are you not prioritizing that?
yeah.
You know how
So
important
I'm
it is.
not. So in my view, whatever if you see what will make a difference in people's lives in coming years, we have to see. I'll give you an why I'm saying it so that it becomes clear. I think quantum technologies will affect the national sovereignty. Any country's sovereignty is at risk because once the quantum computers become available, all our secure communication is at risk. So we have to be ready, and nobody will give you the technology. Let me say this. So the common man will be affected. You and I do the transactions on UPI or whatever bank because we have a safety net of encryption. That safety net will be compromised when we have quantum computers. Are we ready for it? So I will say that's the technology. Second, when we say AI, it's not a hype. Actually, it's here. AI is a enabling technology. It's not a technology per se. You have to see how you use AI along with the human intervention to go to the next level of productivity and innovation. It's not talking of replacing people. It's not that. That's what again I call is a priority. And in next 3 years, we will have artificial general intelligence, AGI.
You wait. That's a very strong remark you made, which has got my ears standing.
Yes,
Within 3 years, you think
I
AGI will
can
come?
see the way there is a exponential growth of compute resources and the desire to change algorithms. It will not happen in the brute force the way we are doing. Question is, what is the breakthrough we need? See, in AI, did not happen in a day. You know, in 1950 it started with machine learning, supervised learning, and all that. Nobody thought it that. But then the transformer technology came, then many other things happen. You have deep learning and so on. All that made it AI. Now AI has agentic AI. You have many forms of AI.
But AGI is something else, and you're saying 3 years. Okay,
That's
let's say
what
it's 5 years. Let's
five
say it's
years.
even 10 years, right?
Yes.
AGI is something where it is artificial intelligence that is as good as humans, right? Which is at the same
Yes.
level as
So
human
my
capabilities.
own impression is, let me say this, we will start seeing the results in next 3 years, maybe in a kindergarten way, and that will accelerate. It's the chat GPT moment. Please remember, before chat GPT, were you concerned about AI? Honestly?
I mean, personally, yes, because I did leave my media career to do an AI-powered startup in 2018. So
Okay.
yes, I did, but I'm not sure.
Not
But
people.
fair enough. But the reason I'm coming back to this AGI point is that a lot of people, again, including me, are somewhat concerned about a non trivial possibility that if you do get AGI, it can become super intelligent very, very fast.
Yes.
6 months, I mean, it could be actually happen in 20 minutes. I've seen Nick
Yes.
Bostrom and others'
Yeah,
theory
yeah,
is
yeah. You have
from the
seen that.
time it becomes, I interviewed him in the
Yeah.
same podcast, that
Yeah.
if you get AGI, it could become super intelligent within 20 minutes or one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you are suddenly living on this planet with something which is a million times more intelligent than you. Who knows that we'll even survive the next day?
I'm not being scary or anything. I'm just saying we have to see, are we ready? Whether you like it or not, AGI will happen. Now question is, what can India do? What can
Can India do anything? If you have
yes.
AGI, then it's something
What
which will have
see
planetary
what I will tell
consequences.
you is we have to see how do we use AGI for our advantage. So my point is in AGI, if somehow we can keep the human element in it, not totally going berserk, is the way. You have to have
A human in the loop somehow.
human in the loop is what I am saying. And my feeling is the way things are accelerating now. See, what will limit it? You think about it. Two things. You won't have enough energy to go further in a brute force manner. Because now we are talking of 10 gigawatt, 100 gigawatt, right? You will boil the ocean, it will saturate, right, at some place. That is one thing which will be limiting. Second thing which is limiting is the algorithms. In algorithms, we are still taking the algorithms which are now today.
Once you have AGI, it will start fixing its own algorithms. It'll do
Algorithm?
recursive self improvement
Yes.
and it'll become smarter much faster than you
Yeah.
can
So
think.
what I am saying is, I know there are scary angles. I'm not belittling it, but India need to think what would be our path forward for AGI.
So, do you think you and India therefore need to be part of talking to the rest of the world
Yeah.
and saying that if actually we do believe that AGI is coming,
Yeah.
are we thinking? I'm going to come to the various, we know what the good side will be, and I'll come to that
Yeah.
also. But the scary side, ASI is a scary side because ASI
Sure.
could solve all your problems. It
Yeah.
could also kill you
Kill
tomorrow.
you
It could
also. Yeah.
wipe out
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
mankind
Yeah. Yeah.
tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Are you and others in the government talking to your counterparts in the rest of the world and saying, do we have guardrails in place?
Yeah, answer is it is like a nuclear technology. Think of that. It is exactly at that stage. When we had nuclear technology, what did we have? We had the useful use, but we also have the atomic bombs and hydrogen bombs. Now that scare,
But sir, in the nuclear situation, you had a human being with the finger on the button.
yes.
Here it's another species. Here
So
it's an alien being.
so I'm saying exactly that. People have to know there has to be human in the loop, and it cannot be left only to private players. That's what I'm saying. The governments or the human, whatever you call it, has to be in the loop.
Right.
So this is the way.
And hopefully you're talking to others in their
Yeah.
world.
So we have
World is
been
in that.
talking, and question is, what do we need to do for India to be a player? Even for AI, we have a governance framework which was released 3 days back. You know, what is our AI policy? You might have seen it. Principle there is do no harm, quote unquote, is the guiding principle. Don't kill the innovation, but don't over regulate. So it's the thing. Now in AGI, will it take over us and so on? And that's what I would say human has to be in the loop.
Sir, even if you don't have the ASI situation and AI killing everybody, or solving all of our problems, I mean, the good part of ASI or that is we, everything else we've discussed is meaningless because
Yeah.
then something is taking care of all of our
Yeah.
problems and solving climate change and solving everything. We can all relax and sort of sit on the beach somewhere.
That is the ultimate
That's a utopian scenario.
utopian one, absolutely.
The in between scenarios would be something that AGI is there and it's taking over. If nothing else, it will start a lot of human jobs and human other activity will be done by the AI, potentially by robots, which it can
Yeah.
then start developing more and more
Yeah.
of. There will be massive unemployment. So those are all scenarios that we have to start thinking about in the next 4 or
Absolutely.
5
That's
years.
what I'm saying. You have to reskill and repurpose at when that happens. By the way, that also happened when computers came in a big way. You know, in 1990s or a little before, we were doing our reservation by filling a form.
Yeah.
And people thought, oh, computers will make everyone redundant. It didn't happen. People found other jobs. So, what we need to keep is that technology will happen whether you like it or not. It's not asking us whether I should grow or not.
Technology will find a way. I think
We
I'm
will,
misquoting Jurassic Park, where it said
yeah,
life will find a way, technology will find a
find
way.
we have to be one up.
So, two other related technologies that I know are there as national missions, which would be linked to this. One is, of course, clean energy, which is an area
Yes,
where India
yeah,
could potentially be one of the
yes,
world leaders in,
yes,
and biotech, because if AI comes, all illnesses, problems will go away.
yeah,
Longevity will become,
yes,
maybe 120 years.
yeah.
So, is India working in those
Yes,
areas also?
yes. Answer is yes. Clean energy, enormous effort. Because you look at the green hydrogen effort in India. We started about 1.5, 2 years back with a good amount of resources, almost to the tune of 2.5 billion US dollar. That time it was comparable to any other economy. That one, why are we doing this? Because we have a huge fossil energy bill. If you want to do anything for strategic autonomy, you have to take care of your energy security. Energy security will need many, many inputs. It will need hydrogen energy, wind energy, nuclear energy, which again we can talk about. All this, India is very, very much on the top of this thing. Our office brought out a report on what are the energy transition pathways. Ahmedabad made the report for us. So we have told even by 2070, what would you need? And coal will not go out of business,
In
which
areas like solar, we are now becoming world
solar,
leaders.
solar, wind. Wind is a small amount. Nuclear will increase. Solar, green hydrogen. All that is being addressed. So clean energy. Answer is yes. India is on the very conscious of it, and we are doing it because we have exceeded our commitment. What we said for non-fossil thing, we have already fulfilled by 2025, which we were supposed to fulfill by 2030, as you know that.
So, we are ahead of the curve
We are
there.
ahead of the curve. Second one in bio. Bio is the future. bioeconomy. Because not only for energy, can we really do for our food? See, now the good news is, Vikram, food availability is not the issue in India. We are out of that phase.
We're giving free food to 800 million
Yeah,
people. For
what we
starters.
need is the food nutrition. Are we having nutritional food to our population? That's the goal. So nutrition will be a very important factor what availability of food was 50 years back when the green revolution started. That is one area. Second, how do you use waste to produce bio useful things with using bioenergy, biotechnology? For example, I heard a recent talk, you have all these clothes which are wasted, after a few years, because that is one thing which remains in the environment. It does not degrade, unfortunately, all our clothes. Can you have a bio inspired technology? Answer is yes. To really break them down to the basics and redo it.
And
That's
biodegradable plastic will solve a lot of the issues that we are considering.
bioplastic. So what I feel is if the planet has to survive, sustainability will only come through bio route. And that is why this bio E3 policy, which was released last year and the mission has started, that is going to make a difference. There many things are there. Bioenergy is there, bio food is there, super proteins which they call or smart proteins. Can you create this high value proteins from plants? It's a big game, big industry now.
Right. Well, Professor Sood, it's been a absolutely fascinating conversation, but I'm going to end with one more, slightly more fundamental question around basic science, because a lot of what we've been talking about has applications to it. Then there's basic science, which is trying to solve the mysteries of the universe, right? What is the nature of life, right? What is the origin of
Sure.
life? And then, of course, particle physics. What is dark matter?
Yeah.
Astronomy, astrophysics. What's the nature of the universe that surrounds us? You have these Mega Vision 2035 projects,
Yes.
160-page documents I've seen
Yeah,
in many of
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Is this also a very important part of what you want to do? Science for
Absolutely.
science's own sake.
See, beautifully put it. See, the point is if you want excitement in science to remain, you need to see what are those exciting challenges. You said dark energy, dark matter. Do we understand? No, we don't understand. What is it we need to do? Now, this cannot be done by one or two people in the lab. It cannot be done. So, we need mega science projects which are funded by many agencies, many countries, and we really address them. Now, it may look very esoteric, but the spin offs are enormous. When you take the gravitational wave detection, LIGO, the technologies which have come out of it are mind boggling. You have quantum sensors coming out of that. So, basic science for the beauty of it will never go down. Human by nature are curious, and this will never go away. So, mega science vision, which our office has steered on astronomy, astrophysics, high energy physics, on climate change, on the this thing, on biodiversity, all these really are very fundamental problems, and this has to be seen how do we roll it out or implement.
And you're saying keep that going because it's very important to understand the universe. And
Absolutely.
till we ask that question to AGI, we should still try to figure out
Yes.
what the nature of the universe is
Yeah.
and what is around us.
Absolutely.
Keep the magic of science, which, as you said, is curiosity.
And the fire in us to really address them. See, if the curiosity dies, humanity dies.
If the curiosity dies, humanity dies. Professor Sood, the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, thank you so much, sir,
Yeah,
for joining us.
really a
I think it's been a
pleasure.
really fascinating conversation, and
Thank
let's
you.
hope all of these plans
Yeah.
work out and work out well. India does become a scientific leader.
Thank you.
Let's also hope AGI comes and does not kill us all in 3 or
Yes.
4 years' time.
Thank you.
Wonderful talking
Really
to you.
pleasure talking with you. Very interesting
Thank you.
conversation.